All right, welcome to this week's Open Neuromorphic Community Town Hall, where we are discussing what's up in the community, what we've been up to as a executive committee, and what we're planning for the next steps. And please don't forget that you can interact with us either on the Discord server, of course, but also during this stream in the commentary. So feel free to hit us. So yeah, I think today we're here to discuss some news. Like we're growing, which is amazing. That's exactly what we were hoping for. Not just because the number of neuromorphic publications are growing, but hopefully also because the number of people who care about, creating this reproducible and sustainable open source community, I think is hopefully attracted to what we're doing here. So that's fantastic. There are a couple of new volunteers who've been been interested in helping out. We are curating quite some lists on software and hardware. And as the number of publications and the people and the hardware is growing, of course, we would need more and more manpower to refine those descriptions. And C. Erastus Toe and Jose Rodriguez, whose names I'm hopefully pronouncing well, is joining us and helping out, which is a tremendous help, of course, but also fantastic to welcome new and inspiring inputs from the community. That's exactly the hope. We're not here as an executive committee to drive everything. We're here to enable. So it's fantastic to see people like Silvestre and Jose joining us. And that's what we're showing here. Essentially, there are many more tasks that we could start to attack, but that needs manpower. And I hope you'd agree that there is a lot of impact to be made here. So if you have experience with social media coordination or event hosting and discussion moderation, we'd be more than happy to hear from you. So please reach out. Again, we are on Discord, here in the commentary on LinkedIn and YouTube, and of course also just hit us with an email. We're kind, friendly people, so ask us anything. Also, if you're just tentatively curious. All right, so this is today's agenda. We've got news on the Open Neuromorphic Research Initiative and the fiscal sponsorship. Dan and Justin has been putting together these amazing things for mission board and network collaboration. And then we want to talk a bit about sponsorship and funding that's related to the fiscal sponsorship, and give you some updates on the platform and community events. So, Danny, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks a lot. I just want to sort of second your note about the volunteers. A huge shout out to them for reaching out. Those, we're super happy to hear that. We're built on volunteers, and without volunteership, there wouldn't be ONM. So huge appreciation for that, and we'd love to hear from anybody else who's even considering being interested. So I just want to give a quick update on our Open Neuromorphic Research Initiative. This is something that we've been working on for the past couple of weeks. We're trying to get basically a publication venue set up, kind of an accreditation sort of mechanism where folks can submit projects and they can sort of be deemed ONM certification, be provided an ONM certification. So at this point, we're working on creating our key documents. The kind of skeleton of that has been predominantly completed. So we have a guide for submitters or reviewers. And you feel free to check those out on our communications repository. If you want to, give your thoughts, feel free to send us a message if there's something that you think could be added or altered. Again, huge shout out to the reviewers who volunteered to review the works that are submitted. That's going to be, a huge help in setting up this initiative. So what we're working on right now is setting up the Open Review platform, which is the tool that we're using to host the venue. That kind of handles all the back end for managing who does the reviewing and sending out, submission requests and responses and stuff like that. So that's a tool, and it's kind of widely adopted in sort of projects like these. So once we get that working, we're looking forward to getting our call for papers out, call for submissions, because they can either be repositories or IEEE formatted publications. So yeah, that's something that's really exciting, and we look forward to moving forward with that. The other component, or the thing that we've been working on for the past couple of weeks, is our fiscal sponsorship. So as we kind of discussed over the past couple of weeks, in order to really kind of cement ourselves as a significant contributor to the community, we need to set up some sort of legal entity and able to manage things like intellectual property, finances, and legal things that may arise. So one of the methods for doing that is a model called fiscal sponsorship, where we essentially are adopted by another 501c3 organization, and they're able to sort of utilize their services in order to accomplish the things that I just discussed. So we have had meetings with two organizations, OSHF and NumFocus. I mentioned this last week, so I won't go into too much detail. But we're reviewing the documents that they sent us, so a memorandum of understanding, and we're attempting to figure out who the optimal partner will be, and what we can do to serve the community best moving forward with this model. But we're chugging away at it and looking forward to get it done within the next few weeks or months or so, step by step.
Okay, so I can give some updates on the mission board and our collaboration network. For the collaboration network, what this is on our website. Our foundational level of support is a coalition of foundational open source projects in the neuromorphic ecosystem, and it's looking at sort of bringing them together and opening the lines of communication, and indicating that the lines of communication are open between these various projects. And the way that it works is they're putting a badge in their GitHub repositories that link to Open Neuromorphic, and in return, what that gives us, basically, I'll get into more detail on the next slide, is gives us sort of the, let's see here, the authority and the domain to grow our traffic and grow the presence of the platform. And so basically the website as it exists, it sort of sets up a knowledge graph of the neuromorphic ecosystem, from software to hardware to the contributors and the people working on it. The workshops also connect back into that. So all of this together basically creates a picture of what the ecosystem looks like for open source neuromorphics. And when we get those different projects that link to us, it's sort of like the collection of entities that all focus their laser beam on one thing, and it becomes giant. So it allows us to widen our net to capture a more long tail search terms. And really, I would say that means that we have a constant inflow of traffic and people wanting to learn about neuromorphic. And so when our authority is raised, we are able to refocus those eyes back into those participating projects. And so with that authority, it just really helps us to get the message out, and also refocus that and back to the community in a way that advances them. And part of that, since the collaboration network was set up a few weeks ago, and so we're looking at ways to push that further, beyond just the ways that I mentioned, that we're growing traffic by increasing the breadth of people who are coming into our project. We're also looking at ways to like laser focus those eyes to the projects and issues that could make the biggest impact in the field. And so that's where we come to the mission board. And the mission board is a list of high impact tasks from across the neuromorphic ecosystem where people can make a difference. So this on this page that we will be launching soon, users can look through the various projects, and what we do is we link to their or we search through their GitHubs to find help wanted issues, first issues, documentation issues, and we present these across the software entries where people first discover as they're first venturing into neuromorphic. That's one of the primary greeting places. So as soon as they're coming into the website, we're telling them like, these are places where you can go to start to make an impact. And even taking that a step further, we will be able to start to segment that to say like, here are good first issues. These are beginner issues. And, we can help a little bit to hold your hand and get you through like getting set up as a contributor. The mission board also allows us to do things like highlight on specific onboarding documents that a project may have, or even a project sponsorship pages can be listed amongst the latest issues in their GitHub. So it allows us to really cater these software entries to serve the members, primarily the members of the collaboration network. It's not completely exclusive, but that just gives us a good place to focus our efforts and time as they're delivering us the value and authority. So the goal here is that, people can come into the mission board, find an issue that they want, and basically be looking at that project and figuring out how to get involved within a few minutes, so as soon as they come, they can be on that pipeline. And, if somebody does come across this, I'd like to put out a challenge to find a good first issue on the mission board once we've got it launched, and maybe we can start to see some progress being made on this. Another thing that the mission board is here to sort of promote, as Danny and Jens have mentioned, we are looking at physical sponsorship with these various organizations. So I'll move on. Some of the specific focuses on sponsorship that we're exploring and sort of outlining and defining are sponsorship tiers, which would be the foundational model, where we have a platinum level, gold level, and if somebody wants to donate to us to support our mission, we can highlight them on that mission, on the sponsorship page, and show our appreciation for their contributions. The mission board is another way that we're looking at exploring sponsorship, and for the help wanted items, and just since this is sort of looking at the broader ecosystem, we can target these to say, like, if somebody sees an issue that maybe is bigger than a single person can take on, we can actually work with the project, work with the community to develop a solution, and work with a potential sponsor to bring out, to map out what a solution would look like, and here's the people that could do it, and the steps forward for something like that, which that could be very powerful for moving the community and ecosystem forward as well. A third thing that we're looking at is sponsorship of key resources. These could be sections like the mission board, hardware, software directories, a lot of parts across the site. We can put on these pages that, and this could also go for workshops, hacking hours, and different events that we host as well. And these are specific sort of sponsorships that would say, like, I really appreciate this effort that ONM is doing, and I want to put some funding behind that. So we will highlight the contributors in those sections to really show that they are aligned with us on these efforts. So if somebody's interested in becoming a sponsor, we would love to hear from you, and you can reach out to us at contact@openneuromorphic.org, and we are on standby. Finally, I think this is my last slide, is platform and operations updates. We have been working on these sponsorship policies and also content policies. So these are like dual licensing, MIT for code, Creative Commons for content. You see, we got a little Creative Commons banner here on the slideshow, which is looks cool. We're looking at, there's GitHub things on the back end, such as enabling code QL security scanning on the repos. And as Danny also mentioned, we've been onboarding some new volunteers. I think Jose we got our first bug issue through the pipeline and resolved. So there's a couple other requests that we're looking at. So we do have a win there and a success. So that's great. We've also been updating some things on our Discord, which is including live updates, which is, if you are on the Discord, you could see that we have, what did we call the name of the channel? I'm going to look here. The scrolling through operations log. So if you happen to view our Discord, you can see in our operations log commits and pushes to our communications repository, which is where we do a lot of our planning and governance discussions and outlaying like what our next steps will be. And we use that to, have the GitHub history, the GitHub, and also the approval processes for discussing and modifying things, as that's where we build the airplane that's in progress. So it's a great place to see what we're up to. If you really are thinking about getting involved deeper, you can really see where the conversation is at this moment. Also in the website channel, there's updates that get pushed out to the website will appear there. And finally, we're looking at applying, or I have applied for us to get the open source credits from DigitalOcean and JetBrains. For DigitalOcean, that would be nice. That would allow us to move forward on some of the things that have been outstanding, such as the dashboard or even Discord bots for managing various functions on the side, on the Discord. So that would open up some things for us. I also applied for JetBrains. They offer licenses to projects that are open source, and I use it. So I'm not sure if other people use it or not, but I would definitely get some advantage out of those licenses. There are other services, AWS, Azure, Vercel. These all have open source programs for for giving people money, but different ones have different requirements. Like Vercel or some of these expect you to host your primary platform on their systems, so they really want you to have a plan for that. So that would be something that we would have to look at from a bigger picture. So we haven't really applied for all of those yet, but just the awareness that they're there, those resources are something that we might look into going after someday if it makes sense for us. And so I'll hand it back to Jens for an overview of our community and events.
Yeah, and I realize this is probably a lot for anyone who's watching until the end, but there's a lot to talk about, and I think I'm very proud to see and very happy to see how much we can actually execute here, and that's really, I think, the common thread between all these messages. That is, we're trying to enable and accelerate some of the developments here. So, for instance, I think the mission board is a fantastic innovation and something I wish existed before, because there's an overview of all the infrastructure. There's a means to entry. So hopefully a lot of new students and maybe even hobbyists, people who find this interesting and cool, will have an easier access into this community and into this kind of technology. So for that reason, I think the licensing and the fiscal sponsorship and so on is very much in that line. There's been that's of course all online, and we've also Open Neumorphic has historically also hosted a lot of talks and educational content, and that's I think the next slide here, where we are actively organizing events, so talks and student talks we mentioned also last week, where students can then geek out a bit about their research and go more in depth. I've been hosting hacking hours, which is, as we talked about last week, transition a little bit. And then, of course, we have these town hall meetings. So we are pushing forward on all 4 fronts. I'm happy to share that we're going to have quite some events coming up on both workshops, student talks, hacking hours, and, of course, these weekly town hall meetings where you'll hear everything about it. We're also very aware that we don't want to saturate the space too much. So workshops, for instance, are probably the biggest event in the community. So we want to make sure that it doesn't happen too frequently. So we prepare well, and we reserve space for the announcements and for the content that will be shared. But I think the takeaway message here is that a lot of levels on which you can engage. So hopefully ONM is not just your entry into understanding the community, it's also really a leverage to gain more experience and knowledge. So the workshops will help you understand some of these technologies, the hardware, the software. The student talks will help you dive in if that's your jam. Like if there's a specific paper that you're curious about, this would be an excellent venue to explore that. And the hacking hours then would be for the geeks who want to dive into code and to hardware. So I think we have a broad palette here, and we of course more than happy to hear feedback from you guys, whether you think what you think might work well, and whether you think we might be missing some parts as well. So please let us know. And with that, I think we are through. But that was a lot, guys. Like I keep being so impressed by how much we managed to get done. Anything you guys have been thinking about? Are you happy with the development so far? I also meant you, Justin and Danny, not to put you on the spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we mentioned, I mean, we have a lot of kind of balls in the air right now. And it's all exciting stuff. I think this fiscal sponsorship thing is going to be a huge, really profound stepping stone. And we're kind of working on this ONR initiative, which I think, as I said before, is going to be a real flagship of the community in and of itself, and will also enable us to kind of leverage that infrastructure for a lot of additional things that we have cooking up. So I'm delighted with the way things are going right now.
Yeah, I also think things are going really great. Maybe to get a little meta, we could talk a bit about the town hall and where we see that. We've in our own chats, we've discussed a little bit about having guests come and be able to briefly discuss things. Some of what we're doing right at this moment is give a broad overview of everything that's on the table, so that if somebody wants to get up to speed and join the conversation, they feel that they have the right information to do so, or they know where to go to start finding that information. If we're looking at inviting people or doing other things, maybe each town hall won't be sort of this comprehensive overview, but maybe a more brief overview, and then a brief dive into a quick discussion with somebody to, like a 5 or 10 minute sort of thing where we talk with them. And so I want to see, does that sound about how you guys imagine the town halls going in the future? Not everyone is going to be going through the entire presentation here, but possibly once a month we'll do something like this, that it gives a full recap, and then other times we might do other things.
Yeah, I think I'd imagine moving forward kind of a shorter form type kind of weekly discussion. That's something that I think kind of that bite-sized content piece might be a little bit more digestible, because 30 minutes of information is a lot to kind of comb through, especially on a weekly cadence. So maybe we want to sort of shorten that down so people can kind of ingest it more easily. But expanding on that thought, I mean, we also want to hear criticism. I mean, we're here talking and we're saying everything's so great and we're so happy with everything, but that probably means that we're missing something, that can really be improved on, and things that members of the community, which are the reason why we're doing all this, want to see improved or expanded or modified, is stuff that we want to hear. So whether you're here in the video live or watching this, reach out to us in general, Discord DM or email, because that's the stuff that we want to hear. But going back to my original point, I think maybe we'll try to condense this more moving forward. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful idea. I also want to support your point, Justin, about inviting people. I think the whole point here is to have a conversation with the community. That's also what you said, Danny, and not to talk at the community, right? So we've just started this, right? And there's probably a bit of catch-up effect in the sense that we've shook the bottle, and then all of a sudden, all the ideas just splash out on the table. We have to somehow make sense of them. And I think that makes sense because realistically, we're in the beginning of sorting out what this community really, can become, and how we can maximize some of the value for people in the community. And I think it's reasonable to just have a lot of excitement in the beginning, but even though it's very new, I think the core message is like we're here and we're not going away, and we want to make sure that all these values, like all these ideas, actually turn to something tangible, right? And that's then to your point, Danny, right? I think we'll have much more dedicated channels where all these initiatives unfold, and then people can tune into those channels, right? And this will probably be more of a quick, here's the entire community, what's happening, very briefly. So I think it's nicely in tune with the news, for instance, that Julia is stitching together, where we once in a while hear like, oh wow, this happened in the neuromorphic community. Maybe we can do something similar for the ONM community, right? And then use these town halls as a more of a conversation forum to announce very briefly, and then discuss later, as I guess people become more and more aware of them, and hopefully also feel empowered to join the conversation.
I also definitely agree on making it more succinct and getting to the points down the road. But also I think like Jens was saying, like some of the initial things is like defining these are the different threads that people can follow throughout the weeks. These are the different things that there will be updates on. And, once we sort of, as we do this each week, we'll become, more efficient and more clear on how we're going through this and what we want to each cover on a presentation. And like I said, maybe do something that's a little bit more comprehensive once a month, just that we go through the different threads, that if somebody wants to really get an overview of what's going on, there's a recent, overview within like a couple weeks, but then like every other week could just be sort of updates to the main thread sort of overview, where it's maybe just a couple bullet points for different things, and probably would be efficient.
Cool.
Yeah, very cool. So I think that's all for us for now. Like, please stay tuned. We talked about Discord, we talked about YouTube, we talked about LinkedIn, you even have our emails. But core message, we look forward to interacting. And then in Justin, let me just say, you guys are amazing. It's really, really cool to see all the movement.
Thank you.
Thank you. You too, Jens. It's great working with you. So, and you too, Danny.
Thanks. Yeah, you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. Ciao, guys.